Hey everyone, listen carefully. I'm going to give you some information today that I think you need to know. I'm going to connect the dots on where this is going, and I'm going to prove it to you in just a second. But before we go there, I want to encourage you, if you haven't done so yet, to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and you're going to want to share this video also with your friends. So let's get ready. I'm going to show you, as I mentioned, why this is going the direction it is with this coronavirus, with much of the world, not all of the world, but much of the world on lockdown, but especially the Western world. Think of this as we look at what appears to be possibility of religious persecution. Last week, the New York Times published an op-ed article blaming evangelical Christians for the coronavirus, and had to do with their support of Donald Trump. You look at this, you go, this is absurd. I can't help but think all the way back to Nero, when Nero was the Roman Caesar, and Nero blamed the Christians for Rome when it was burning. And then there is this. It's not just Christians, it's also the blaming of the Jews. Muslim clergy worldwide agrees Jews created coronavirus to shut down Mecca. And then there's this. New York City mayor threatens to shut down synagogues and churches, but not mosques. I consider that, and I think of the Roman Empire of old, again, the days of Nero. And the two groups, the religious groups that were persecuted, it was the Christians and then the Jews. What do we see happening now? Everything is going that way as we are leading into, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to prove it, that we are leading into a revived Roman Empire, and the two groups that are going to be persecuted for this, the religious groups, are the Christians and the Jews. And then there's this is from Zero Hedge on Tuesday, COVID-19 derangement syndrome, a world gone mad. I would totally agree with that. It appears that we have entered into a strong delusion. 2 Thessalonians, God tells us that that's exactly what he's going to do in the last days, send a strong delusion among the world because they refused to receive the love of the truth. In other words, they rejected the Son, the truth of the Lord Jesus Christ. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. God says, you reject the love of the truth? Guess what? I'm going to send you strong delusion, and we have this coronavirus derangement syndrome, a world gone mad. And then there's this regarding the EU. EU has no strategy. Bloc at risk of disappearing from the map after coronavirus response. And I think of that, and I can tell you this, out of the ashes of Europe is going to revive a new Roman Empire. A new world order is coming out of this. Globalism is coming out of this. Now, I'm going to prove it to you. I want you to think of this. I've shared this before, but this comes from my book, America in the New World Order, and this is where I wrote in here in June of 2015. Consider this. 5 years ago, Pope Francis issued his encyclical on climate change. In it, he called for global entities, listen to this, to wrest control from local governments. International negotiations, he wrote, cannot make significant progress due to positions taken by countries which place their national interests above the global common good. Did you catch that? In other words, nations tend to act in their own best interests, and he thinks that's a problem when it comes to climate change and other issues. So he called for global regulatory norms to impose obligations and prevent unacceptable actions. Where do these new regulatory norms come from? Pope Francis explained, there's urgent need of a true world political authority. A world political authority. One authoritative source of oversight and coordination, which lays down rules for admissible conduct in the light of the global common good. Folks, that's where all of this is going. And I'm going to tell you something else. Not only are we going to have new laws that are going to come into effect when we get on the other side of that, of this whole coronavirus thing, which won't be in the too distant future. In fact, I believe they're going to be coming soon. They're going to be coming in the guise of vaccinations and controlling viruses, but also climate laws are going to start being forced upon us, and it's going to be real simple. The narrative is going to go something like this. See, we avoided a world collapse because of coronavirus. Everybody complied, so we got to have these new laws. And the next great crisis that's going to hit this world is going to be climate change, the whole global warming thing, and the climate deniers are the ones that are in the way. Mark my words, these things are going to come. Consider this. The Pope was calling for the subjugation of the people's will to that of an elite few who write unalterable laws. This was in 2015 with the Pope, and this is the direction that everything is coming. And I continued, and a few pages later in my book, massive changes coming and coming fast, and it all fits perfectly with Bible prophecy. In September of 2015, the 193 member states of the UN General Assembly unanimously passed, get this, the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development. The UN describes the 2030 agenda in utopian terms. We're determined to take the bold and transformative steps which are urgently needed to shift the world, get this, onto a sustainable, resilient path. As we embark on this collective journey, we pledge that no one will be left behind. No one will be left behind really means no one is going to be allowed to opt out. Folks, this is the direction we are seeing this. Now consider this. Item number 10 on Agenda 2030 promises to reduce inequality within and among countries. This is wealth redistribution, but of an unheard of scale. It puts the UN in the middle of everything. Again, this is Agenda 2030. Reducing inequality within countries puts the UN inside every nation's business, community, every town's school district, every business in the world. Reducing inequality among nations puts the UN in charge of wealth redistribution among the nations. Is that what is going on? Consider this. Remember that the authors of the Agenda 2030 do not believe that the American lifestyle is sustainable. They're not trying to raise world prosperity to American levels, except for protecting the ultra-rich. They want to lower Americans' living standards to fall more in line with a sustainable future. These people believe that for the benefit of Mother Earth, they need to protect America and America's poor. But it's all about, it's the global common good. Listen, the Bible warns of this. In the last days, no one's going to be able to buy or sell unless they are identified. Right now, this is what we have. We have this global overreach that is affecting the world, especially the developed world. You don't hear about these lockdowns in South America and Central America. Listen, according to everything you read in the UN's agendas that they have out there, it is about bringing America down and make it a level playing field, and it is really, it's socialism on a global scale. And you look at this and you think, well, this just can't be. Consider this. Revelation chapter 17 tells us that there's going to be 10 kings in the last days. They're going to rule the globe. 10 elitists is what I've been saying for years. Listen, there are people that are very powerful that are in this world. They believe that they know better than everybody else. They have an agenda, and their agenda they might think is wonderful. It's a utopian world. But this utopian world subjects the world into all of these laws that I promise you are coming. The laws are already on the books, and they are going to be enforced. And when we get through this to the other side of the current coronavirus, you wait and you watch and you see what's coming. Also know this. I love this article by Terry James. He said the end is not yet. Listen, this is not the end. What this is this is a setup for what is coming. And what is happening right now is about ready to give birth to a new world order. Listen, you need to know these things. The Bible tells us where all of this is going. The end is not yet. Listen, Jesus is still coming in the future. Don't be discouraged, but look up, Jesus said. When you see these things begin to take place, look up, for your redemption draws near. Ask Christ to forgive you. Turn to him, but understand this. Stay strong in the battle. We could be here for a while. Stay strong in the battle. Press forward in the gospel and in the love of the Lord Jesus Christ.